Yep.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty extensive.
Okay, cool. Alright. Hey guys, today's vlog/podcast is on winning and losing. Got Max and McCall here. We're going to chat about some things that go over winning and losing and the linear scale of success.
Alright, so first of all, I want to see how you define success, Cash. What do you think a successful person in life is?
At the what, sorry?
Like, how do you define success? So how in your mind has someone been successful?
Achieving what they want. Like if you want something really bad and that's your version, I think it's like very individualized. But again, like example for if we want to relate this back to training, it might be winning a certain competition,
Yep.
or it might be breaking a world record or something like that. That would be that person's version of success.
Yep.
Mine personally would be being able to provide an amazing life for my daughter or partner. So yeah, everyone slightly different versions, but makes sense. What about you?
Yeah, no, I have to agree. So I'm more inclined. I think success is how you define it. It's someone who's picked out a goal, done what it takes to achieve that goal, and they haven't just succumbed to what society has decided how they should live their life. So,
yeah, exactly.
But you made a really good point there. I think success needs to be a bit broader than just achieving one goal. I think if you have no friends, you've cut family connections. You've been an asshole in order to achieve some financial or even lifting goal, I think you failed.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think it has to be, it's going to be different everywhere, but I think success, you have to look at, mental, how you act, and how you behave, your thoughts, a physical goal, and then look at the relationships you have with other people, and then even possibly financial coming into that as well. I think it has to be a holistic look at success rather than achieving one goal but you've destroyed the rest of your life. I don't think that's true success.
That's a really awesome point, and something I've heard Tony Robbins say before: success without happiness is failure. You can make all the money in the world, or you can hit all the goals you want, but if you're beating yourself up and beating others up along the way, and you're still not happy when you get to that goal, then you really have failed.
Exactly. Well, a good point about happiness isn't always linked to success. Happiness is actually a choice you make, and you need to actually decide to be happy before you've actually achieved your goal. Or otherwise it just becomes this moving target you never reach. You think you're going to be happy once you achieve this target, but then you hit there and you're like, I want to get this next target. So happiness is a conscious choice to actually be happy and enjoy the process of working towards that target. And that target, once you reach it, shouldn't actually define your happiness.
Very cool. Yeah, no, that's very true. Would you like to go over how one of the things we want to talk about too is how success is a non-linear scale? So being able to achieve things like looking at what would be your take on that?
Yes, so really good point. So success is non-linear, so it's not a straight line, and everyone thinks it's a straight line. And I've got people that train with me that have this idea it's going to be a straight line, that they're just going to make progress continuously with no setbacks, because that's what they think their favourite athlete or someone they aspire to be has achieved, when in reality, often the people that have achieved the most have actually had some of the worst setbacks imaginable.
Correct, 100%.
And they've had times where they've doubted themselves, where they've had terrible workouts or terrible losses, if it's a financial goal, business is going broke, family troubles, if that's the goal, and they've pushed through. So that's the number one thing, is just keep going and understand it's undulating. It should be going up over time, but there's going to be these big dips and troughs you have to get through.
100%. That's really true. If we can look back, use an example before we talk about ourselves, but of someone who's achieved something really amazing in the strength world would be Vlad, the guy who squatted, the first guy to squat.
Vlad Alexov. So I actually went to one of his seminars, and I don't know the exact date. Let's just say 10 years ago. But it was when he was training at Westside Barbell, and he attempted to squat around 600 kilos for the squat suit, so equipped, and he'd done I think 550 for 2 reps before, and everyone told him not to do it, but he attempted it. And on the way down, he twisted, both knees completely ruptured. He tore every tendon in both knees, every ligament tendon just completely destroyed. And he actually got an experimental operation where they got cadaver tendons and replaced everything in both knees. and they didn't even know it was going to work. So he actually had to sign a waiver that he wouldn't sue them if it didn't work, and they thought he probably would never be able to walk again. However, the operation worked, and a few years ago, last year, he became the first guy to ever squat 500 kilograms.
Raw, was it? Or
Raw,
reps? Raw reps.
Yeah. So
cool.
To me, that is an amazing example. Someone who's literally gone from not being able to walk to being the first guy to squat 500 kilos, and if you can overcome that, I think it puts some little injuries that people get in perspective.
Yeah, 100%. Probably personally for me, one of the biggest setbacks I had in life, if we're going to go not specifically about training, would be overcoming drug and alcohol addiction. So coming back from that and coming back from a very dark place. So for me, just trying to rebuild a life back from that was my version of success. So every day forward to me is a new day. If I relate it back to training, one of the things I can be most relatable to would be injuries. So times where I've torn meniscus in my knee or had issues with either knee and not being able to squat for a certain period of time, and something that I really love. Like training for me is a really big outlet for stress. So if there's ever a period where I can't train or can't do a particular movement, the best way I can look at it is just finding another way to do it. Like there's always another way, and always just keep on the grind. I think that's a big thing. What about yourself?
Yeah, so on that, what were some of the strategies you like mental strategies you used to overcome those difficulties?
Biggest one would be, if we're talking about the biggest thing, so being an alcoholic or drug abuse, would be learning to change the belief system I had. So instead of telling myself that I was always an addict or I was always going to be like this, it was like, well, no, there was a time earlier in life when you weren't like this, so how about we go back and meet that and re-establish those beliefs or just learn new beliefs. I think that's a big thing. Believe in yourself.
And then like overcoming addiction, was there a turning point, or was it like there were multiple setbacks that took a long time?
Oh yeah, there was no straight line. It wasn't like you stopped using drugs and then you got better. It was you stopped using drugs and then you were clean for 2 weeks, and then you celebrated being clean for 2 weeks by using drugs, and then that went on for about a year.
Yeah.
And then realizing after being hospitalized 3 times and almost dying from overdoses. Not the first time. So the first time I got hospitalized, right? I didn't stop and go, I should probably not do drugs again. I got, maybe I should do less. Like that's the crazy thing, because that's the sort of mindset I was in. So in that mind frame, I was like, I should do less. But then my sort of personality doesn't work well with less of anything. I'm very much all or nothing sort of person. And then it wasn't until the third time I was in hospital, I was like, hey, look, I'm never touching drugs or alcohol again. It's just not for me. So. Yeah, that was probably the biggest thing that it took. It takes time.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And then, like, what advice do you have someone in the same position, just to keep pushing and just keep, even if you have those setbacks, just give it a go?
Change your scenery is a big one.
Yeah.
For me, changing the people that I hang out with, the people I talk to, the way I talk to myself. The people I contacted, the people I followed, the people I watched, the people I was friends with, all of that. The place I lived, for example, just changing the scenery. Having a new scenery can do a lot for you.
And that's a big one, no matter what issue you're dealing with, or obstacle you're trying to overcome. If you're, if your process towards goals isn't working out, maybe if it's a gym goal, maybe you need to find a new gym, maybe find new training partners.
Yes, 100%.
Maybe you need to be around people that are going to support your goals more.
Yep.
So that's really valuable, because that's coming from one of the worst possible roads you can go down.
Yep.
I think people are going to learn a lot from that and apply that to everything, all the obstacles they hit.
Yeah. Very true.
But that one about changing your belief about yourself, actually having to recreate a new version of yourself.
Yes, 100%. Like just rebuilding, and that's if you relate that back to being injured or being in a place where your body's not doing what you want it to, it's just being able to re-establish new beliefs, because there's a lot of amazing people that have done amazing things with a lot less limbs than 90% of the world's population.
Yeah. And then was that like affirmations, like self-talk, or how did you actually convince you to sort of recreate yourself, or was it just taking actions?
Yeah, taking actions. Like I read a lot. I used to love reading. Still do. Don't have as much time now for reading as I did. But yeah, reading a lot and then applying what I read. Like you can learn as much as you want, but if you don't apply it, everything's useless without action. Like execution is 100% key. So
Yeah, that's incredible.
yeah.
I mean, no, like Cash is like I don't really say this to him not, but it's what he's done is really inspirational.
Oh, thank you. Cheers.
It's like I think
This is Max trying to hit on me.
yeah.
No, I kid.
No, anyway,
So what about yourself, Max? What's one of in your life? What's been some of the biggest setbacks you've had?
Yes, so I did have a pretty big setback a few months ago that I haven't really talked about, which was going through testicular cancer. So I guess the reason I haven't talked about it is because I just really didn't want to define myself as a as a cancer survivor. Because you see, a lot of people are going to take this the wrong way, but I don't really care. I'm going to put it out there anyway. There's a lot of people that label themselves as a cancer survivor, and they even, I've seen it in people's Instagram bios, cancer survivor. And to me, it's an awful thing to go through, and it takes a lot of resilience to overcome, but it's not a success to me is a goal you've set out and achieved. So overcoming an obstacle like that, it's impressive, but it needs, you can't just be a survivor. It needs to be, I've actually achieved this, and that just happened to be something that happened along the way that interfered with my goals, in my opinion.
Yep. Yeah. Do you mind if we touch just so people know what is your goal?
What's my goal? Well, yeah. So current goal. So I've got a few goals. So business. Essentially, I'm just trying to take over the sport of strongman. So I've already got 2 AXA world records. So I want to have someone win in every division. And then myself, current goal, I want to get my pro card. So winning the Arnold's, whether that's this year or next year, it's definitely going to happen. Just going to really get back in training, and I'll have to weigh around 140. So there's a lot of eating work to do, but it's all mapped out. Like I've trained world record holders. I know what it takes to get those level results. It's just I've had a few things this year that have kind of got in my way. So the plan's all there. All I need to do is put in the work.
That's a really awesome point. Now, one of the things I was really impressed about Max is about a week before he went in. This is after he found out he had cancer. A week before he went in for surgery, he squatted 250, hit a PB on squats. That's how determined he is towards his goal, and that's the sort of mindset you need if you want to succeed at anything. There's never been a point where Max has said to me, maybe strongman is not for me. That's just his life. He lives and breathes it, and cancer, nothing else is going to stop it. He wasn't going to use that as an excuse or use that as a crutch to lean on. Go, maybe I shouldn't compete this year. That's his personality. That's what will make him very successful.
Yeah. Yes, so that was the day. I think the day I found out that it was 100% confirmed. I pretty much found out the day before I had the scan, but it was all confirmed the day after, and booked an appointment with a surgeon and next week. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to train for a while. So because if you don't know, they actually I'll go into some details. So basically, they cut through your lower abdominals and pull out your one of your balls and then cut it off by the cord. It was actually quite invasive through the lower abs, so you pretty much can't lift anything for about 6 weeks after. So I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to lift for about 6 weeks, and I'm probably not going to be able to hit any decent weights for quite a few months. So time for a squat PB. So went and did 250 and felt a lot better. But and it was good knowing I definitely knew something was up before I had the scan, just in general, just not feeling well for months before. So my body was obviously telling me something's off. So if I can, hit PB, I was the strongest I'd ever been. If I hit PBs with a deadly form of cancer, I'm pretty sure once I go back, I'll be able to easily surpass that.
Yeah.
So it was a good boost, and it's actually good, having that 6 weeks. It was a good chance to actually reassess, focus on the business a bit more, focus on clients, and map out a bit of a plan for the future as well. So sometimes you're just going to take these setbacks as an opportunity. So a good example is there've been times where, like Cash, I've had a knee injury. I can't squat. So you know what? I increase the days a week I do shoulders, so I get my shoulder strength up, or I do more deadlifts. Or every time, you have an injury, it's an opportunity for another part of your body to grow
100%.
and get better.
Yeah.
And it's also an opportunity for you to reassess your technique and reassess what actually caused that injury in the first place, so it doesn't happen again. And so it doesn't happen more catastrophically when you're lifting even heavier. So you've actually got to take all these setbacks as course corrections. The way you were going was leading to an injury, or the way your business was going wasn't sustainable long term. So it's a course correction that's actually helping you towards your goal.
100%.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask a question just about how your mindset was towards training? Like, because you love training, yeah? Yeah. So how was that time for you not being able to train for 6 weeks after surgery? Like, what was your mindset around that time?
Yeah, well, okay. So it was actually only lasted about 4 weeks before I jumped back in, which was sort of advisable. And then I hit it pretty hard for 2 weeks, and actually got some pretty bad tweaks. push. First session back, doing like 100 kilo push press after like 60 kilo dips, superset, and then I was feeling it in my shoulders and knees pretty hard after. so I was a bit too eager to get back in, but it was tough, but it was almost I did appreciate it though, like it was a good chance to force me to sit back and actually just analyse all my training and what had been going well, what hadn't, so I can actually make better decisions in the future. And it was an opportunity to, and my business had some really good growth in that time, so that was it was a good opportunity. So yeah, I just kind of took it on board, but it was tough. It was more coming to terms with operation. Only having one ball, like a lot of you think a lot of your ideas about masculinity are tied into having having a pair, I guess. So it's just getting over that and realising it's not actually a big deal and doesn't actually impact anything whatsoever.
Yep.
It just it's going to look a little bit different to someone else.
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. And during that time, what were your you competed during that time before you actually found out you had cancer? So
actually, I competed. I had a comp coming up to qualify for the state finals, and in the back of my mind, I pretty much knew I had this lump, and it probably was cancer, but I put it off until after the comp because I needed that qualification spot.
I remember sitting because I get Max over for dinner every other week, and I remember sitting there and telling him, mate, you need to go get that checked. He's like, yeah, no, I will. And then I just sent him a message every other day, mate, have you been to the doctor? Have you been to the doctor? He's like, yeah, no.
Anyway, so don't do that. If you notice any kind of lump or anything on your body, get it checked.
Yeah, 100%.
No matter what it is.
You never know.
Don't avoid it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a really good point, especially if you're not feeling well too. That's a good point for any athlete out there or any person in general, just getting regular blood checkups. And I know some people don't get blood checkups for like up to maybe once a year, once every 2 years, but just getting them done regularly, even just as regularly.
Well, even like I think every guy who's pushing himself hard in the gym, even if they're not competing, but even more so if you're competing, if you're over 100 kilos, the body's not meant to be 100 kilos with abs, or like 120 or 140 or whatever it is. Like the body's not meant to actually carry that much muscle tissue. So if you think it's all fine and healthy, you're kidding yourself. Yeah, and so, but it's a cool thing to do. That's what we do. That's what we're passionate about.
Yeah.
But you got to check yourself. So I actually recommend, if you're a big guy that pushes hard in the gym, get a blood pressure monitor and monitor your blood pressure. Why not do it daily?
Yes, 100%.
Slaps, in the morning, get up, slap the blood pressure monitor on, and then just jot it down. It'll literally take 5 minutes while your coffee's, or actually less, 1 minute while your coffee's on, or whatever. And just jot it down and do a weekly average. And if you look at your heart rate, so you can actually see how your fitness is going, or if you're overtraining, your heart might be spiking a little bit. So monitor that, see your blood pressure at, because if your high blood pressure will literally fuck up every single organ in your entire body. And almost like a third of people with high blood pressure will eventually at some point get a stroke. Like this is untreated high blood pressure, and 2/3 will eventually get a heart attack. So be onto it. And that way, if you're really pushing your body hard, gaining a bunch of weight, it's starting to move, you can know, okay, I need to ease off. I'll still reach my goal, but I need to change the approach before something bad happens.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things you can do, actually one of the things that really helps blood pressure too can be low magnesium. Now obviously this is medical advice, but making sure, one, that you have a really good doctor that you can do checkups with, and two, getting really good sound advice from that doctor and asking the right questions too. If your doctor's not giving you the answers that you need to hear about what's going on with your body, find a better doctor. Yeah. That's as good as it takes, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think like blood test is a good example of one of the little things that can make a big difference, and that a lot of people will skip, but it's those little things that will add up over time. There's little 5%ers that will make the difference between winning and losing in the long term.
100%, and if we can relate that back to just success in general, like a big saying I firmly believe in is success is a lot of small things done well day after day, every day. Whether that's workout after workout, discipline after discipline, it's just those little things all add up. Let's bring it back to training now, or even if you want to use an example of a client. What's who's an example of one of your clients where they use little things every single day to get them to a big goal, and what was some key factors in their lifestyle that affected that?
Yeah, okay, so I won't go into specifics because there's one client, there's a few clients, but basically I'll go into what my kind of ideal client is. So the person who's So basically what I've seen is a lot of people think, the best time to get strong is when you're young. It's actually not, often because young people are distracted. So it is a great time to get strong, but often young people have got a lot of stuff going on that actually makes the adaptation to training quite not as effective as it could be.
Should we jot down some of those, talk about some of those factors that could be?
Yeah, well, I'll first tell you about my kind of ideal clients.
Yes, okay.
So the guys and girls that I train that get the best results out of anyone are people with a stable lifestyle and job that they enjoy, or that sometimes it's a cruisy job or it's a job they enjoy, and they've got a stable relationship and a supportive partner, and they've got kids. I'll get into why that's important later. And they've got they respect their bodies, so they've got a very consistent eating and sleeping schedule, and they stick to that. And that's a lot of it. And they get regular soft tissue work often, or they do something to make up for the stress in their body. So whether they scrape themselves out, or they do, they've got some bands at home, they do some movements with, they do something to equalise the damage they're doing to their body. So you balance the yin and the yang of training with the yin of stretching or some kind of mobility or soft tissue work. So that's kind of the people that get the best results, basically, is that kind of lifestyle.
That's really cool. Do you mind if we touch on, just from personal experience too, touch on why some of those key factors are really important in setting success outside of that life?
Yeah. Well, okay. So I think having kids is probably a big one. Like all the strongest people I train pretty much have kids. It's because kids are motivated. They force you to focus on what's important because you need to spend time with them. So once people have kids, they sort their finances out, they sort their lifestyle out, they're not sleeping in, they're prepping their food on time, and they're motivated because they want to inspire their children.
Yes.
So, is that something, I mean, I haven't got kids, but you've got a daughter, so is that something you found?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing that motivates me, like my biggest why, and why I do what I do. My reason why being is my daughter. Like, I want her to look at her dad and go, wow, he actually achieved something really amazing in life. Not just worked a 9 to 5, but actually did something on top of that. Worked, up to 2 a.m. in the morning, and still spent time with us. Being able to get things done, and like a lot of these people too, these clients, they might spend time with their kids from, they might get home from work at 6, for example, and spend time with their kids for 3 hours, then go out and train. Yeah. That's part of what you need to do. It's like all those little things that make it up.
Yeah. Well, you got one client that doesn't trains at 10:30 p.m. at night because he spends time with his kids. So they get it done. And Yeah, definitely a big one. And I think a big one's the stability of a lot of the lifestyle. So if you really want to achieve something in any athletic domain, or especially in strength sports, you want to stabilize your life, stabilize all the variables as much as possible. If you're eating out every meal, if you're going out and getting smashed every multiple times a week, it's not going to be very conductive to your goals.
And that goes down to your circle of friends that you hang out with, and why a stable lifestyle and a stable partner and a stable family life is really important too. Because if you're in a relationship with someone that you give actual shit about, if you actually give a fuck about that person, you're going to take care of yourself. You're going to make sure that you look your best. You're going to make sure you have your food prepped. You're going to make sure you're taking care of yourself. Like, all those things all play into not just you, but about other people. Yeah. And that's probably the biggest factor of having kids too. Is it takes focus away from you, and it puts the focus into what can you make those people proud of.
Yeah, exactly. And what do you think your thoughts on this, Cash? So do you think a lot of people are having kids a lot later now? Do you think that is interfering with how successful they could be?
I think, like, if we're talking about specifically strength sports.
No, I was thinking more general, but you could apply to that. Yeah.
Yeah. The only reason I say that is because I asked a client I train in Max Schuster, Max knows as well.
Yeah.
Who's a very successful man. He didn't marry until his 40s and have kids till his 40s because his number one focus was to make money. So he said, like, you can't have, like, if that's your 100% focus 24/7 a day, you don't have time for wife and kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the opposite end of the spectrum of where I'm coming from. But going back to the question on people having kids later, yeah, I think that might be the fear of missing out. It's like, well, how much partying can they get done? It's like, well, yeah, if you're going to spend your time partying and blowing, sucking shit up your nose, you're not gonna be that you're not gonna get that far in life. You're probably not gonna live very long either.
Yeah. Okay, but like, it is something I've seen. Like, is that often these people that are strong, sometimes these people that are strong at a young age, actually got married and got stability at a young age. Like, well, a good example is Dylan Hellriegel.
Yep.
He's married, already got a kid, and I think he's younger than me.
Yeah.
And he's got that stability. He hasn't been partying for, his early 20s. He's been
very disciplined.
Very disciplined. Yeah. So just an example. And I just think it's an interesting topic because we'll see it in this generation. A lot of people probably won't even have kids because they'll put it off too long.
Yeah.
Or it's just a thing that people are really avoiding. It's just an interesting psychological shift in society.
Are you gonna have kids, Max?
We'll see. Anyway, I'm just having some debate here.
Yeah. No,
I just think it's an interesting point.
Yeah.
No,
100%.
And how a lot of people, got this idea of missing out, but what are you missing out on? What are actually people starting to do?
Yeah.
Is to reproduce their children.
Yeah. Like, and one of my biggest joys, this is just personally for myself, is chilling out on a Saturday night with me, my partner, and my daughter, watching a movie, ordering some Uber Eats or something and chilling. That's my ultimate idea of success right there. Like, I don't need any other stimulus. I've lived a pretty crazy youth and it almost killed me 3 times. I don't find that fun. I find chilling out and connecting with other people really fun.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and then so I've kind of mentioned a few of the things I noticed with my most successful clients. Yep. What do you notice? Have you kind of noticed the same thing? That some kind of lifestyle?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the people that just have their head screwed on. That's
they've got their shit sorted.
Yeah, like the most simplest thing. The people that get the most results have their shit sorted. That's it. I couldn't really touch much more on
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing too is like I've heard this from a few people, but the age between that 40 and 50 is a shit age. If you've got kids and you're running a business and you've got staff, like, that's a horrible age. But if you're still taking time out to take care of yourself, I think that's a hat off to you as well.
Yeah.
Because you're taking care of your body and just trying to take care of your mortality, because you got to a point where you realise your life's like, holy shit, my body's actually starting to slow down on me. am I going to be running around with my grandchildren 10 years from now? Am I going to die from a stroke from having high blood pressure and not taking care of myself? So, those sort of clients, to me, I don't know how else you guys do.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what's some of the mental things with the most successful people you trained? Like, what's different about their mindset to the people that don't get results?
They do what others won't.
Yeah.
And they won't make excuses about it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, if you give them a program, they don't just do the program, they fucking kill the program.
Yeah.
Like, they just destroy the program. Like we spoke about this on the last one about shoulder strength, where you can give 2 clients the exact same program. One client will do it, and get just average results. The other client will, send the weights, like absolutely destroy the weights, and and then give you constant feedback on that and how that felt. They might even just break it down to every rep and every set and even the tempo. Like, that second of that pause, I felt like I was going to shit myself. Good, you're doing it right. Where the other client might be like, I didn't do the pause today because I didn't feel like it. It's like, different clients, different results from just doing what others won't. Yeah. And communication, I think, is a big one too. What about for yourself?
Yes, well, I mean, that's a big one, is they'll do whatever it takes to hit their numbers.
Yeah.
And I've had people where I did talk about the stable lifestyle, but in saying that, the most successful people, if something comes up that interferes with it, they'll do whatever it takes to still make that session work.
Yeah.
So if they've had a terrible sleep, they'll just have a day off, rest, recover, eat as much as possible, smash it the next day, or they might have a nap, or you know what, they might even just psych up so much that they hit those weights anyway. There's always a way around it. And it's the mindset they bring to the session, and then the mindset of constantly doing these little things to actually prepare for those sessions. Because so many times someone misses a weight and they're like, this program's not working. And well, in reality, okay, let's sit down. How was your sleep for the last 3 days before? How was your food for like? How was your hydration that day? And actually I've pretty much haven't been eating for like 2 days, or I had takeaway, for a few days, couldn't be bothered cooking, and then I only had a can of Coke this morning that day. Okay, well that's really mixed, but you've got to control all the variables. So if something goes wrong, you're like, okay, I know there was too much volume in the program, or this. You've got to control so many variables. It's only 1 or 2 things that could have gone wrong if you miss a weight.
100%. And if you're one of these clients that are wondering why you're not getting results, are you being honest, or are you just more so just being in communication with your coach?
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's a big thing.
Some people won't communicate all this shit that's going wrong in their life, when I could have actually adapted the program to work around that.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's because they either feel embarrassed or they don't want to talk about, which is 100% fair and respectful. But again, if you really want that goal, you'll do anything you can to get it. And if you've got a coach, take advantage of that, because there's a good chance they've been through some shit, or they've got other clients who've been through some shit, and they know how to get around that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what a coach is for, is to help you work through those troughs and valleys of success and failure.
Yeah, get to point A to point B safely.
Yeah, exactly. And a good coach should be able to work around a lot of the shit that comes up. So that's what they're there for. A coach isn't just to give you the ideal plan that you need to stick to, and that's that.
Yeah.
If someone just maps out like a program for the next 12 weeks, this is what and you're advanced, and they make no changes, you know what? They're probably not a good coach.
Yeah, exactly. And Max is we have different styles of programming, but we still follow similar principles.
Yeah.
For me, just for efficiency of how I write programs, I write it in, even though I'd sign someone up for a 12-week block, I'd write each program in a 4-week block, because I know the next 4 weeks is most likely depending on how that outcome is, depending on that last week, depending on even on the second week, how it's going to affect the next program, whether they can actually do that. That's a big
Whereas,
thing.
if you're playing 12 weeks ahead, 12 weeks ahead never really goes to plan.
No.
Ever.
No.
There's always going to be something that comes up, unless you've really stabilised your lifestyle to the point where nothing's gonna come up, and in which case you're probably not very successful at other aspects of your life. But it might be necessary to do at certain points or in certain periods of the year to literally stabilise your life to that extent where you can actually train like that. And then, so going on from there, so we've taught, going back to the mindset, I think a big one is belief.
Self-belief.
Self-belief. And like, whenever I've had someone win a major competition or set a record, they 100% believed it was possible. Like, I had a guy who won the Arnold Classic a few years ago, and before it, for those of you who don't know, it's a major strongman competition, and this was in the lightweight division, and he visualised winning it in such detail and with such emotion that he would start to tear up while he was visualising it. And then on the day, there was just no doubt he was going to win, and it came down to half a point. Actually, or less than a point. I think maybe a point separating the top four, and it went down to like placings each event. But he won.
Wow. And
I think that I literally there's. Have you ever read any or listened to Joe Dispenza's stuff?
Maybe.
Yeah. So he's basically a neuroscientist essentially, but he's trying to bridge the gap between the occult and the mystical and like quantum physics.
Yes.
And some of his stuff's a bit out there, but he's big on the law of attraction.
Yes.
And he's actually come up with mechanisms as to how having a belief, but having that belief charged by an elevated emotion, can actually literally influence the universe to give you what you want.
100%.
Now we're going a little bit off the deep end here.
Yeah. But relate that back to success and strength sports.
But you know what? I mean, the thing is, every time someone has 100% belief, they've won a competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and often shit's gone wrong, but the belief, holds them steady.
Yeah.
And it works out. And whenever there's even a little seed of doubt, they end up losing.
Yeah.
So there is something powerful about that, having 100% unshakable faith in achieving a goal.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I 100% believe that. If you don't believe something yourself, then you're not going to get.
But I mean, so we're going. It's not really off topic, but we're obviously fairly.
We spoke about drug addiction, cancer, world records.
This is how we talk.
Knees. What else you want to talk about? This is a pretty general conversation for me and Max, which is why we video it, because we talk about some pretty cool shit, and we sit there going, "Wow, we should have probably recorded that."
Yeah, exactly. Now, I think we're both fairly science-based trainers, as far as a lot of personal trainers go.
Yeah.
Obviously we're not going to...
Evidence-based training.
Evidence-based. We don't just take every study on a face value, but we're constantly observing and seeing what works and what doesn't.
Correct.
And we've definitely got a base in science as to what we do. Now, do you believe the law of attraction actually, if you have a belief, it actually influences the universe, or do you think it's just the actions that you take that cause the outcome?
I think the two work hand in hand, personally for me. Like the fact that if you're not prepared to take an action when an opportunity meets you, then that opportunity's been wasted. So whatever power you want to call it, like just believing in something that something will pit, whether it's an obstacle or an opportunity in your life to grow from or learn from. If you're not prepared to meet that with everything you've got or everything you've learned, then I think it's a wasted opportunity. So being able to meet the two hand in hand is what I believe. Yeah.
Well, like I definitely believe it. And you could argue it's kind of confirmation bias. Like I've forgotten the times that it hasn't worked.
Yeah.
But there's been times where I've focused on something so intensely, and it always ends up coming up.
Yeah.
Like I'll give you an example. So I was working at a gym that we both used to work at. And I needed to move on to somewhere else, and I wanted to get a job at another gym, and I actually, the new gym that I wanted a job at was actually close to my house, and every day or every few days I would drive there and pretend I was going to work there.
Yeah. Wow. Did you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, and then I was so confident in getting the job, I hadn't even applied for it. But I quit my other job, applied there, and I got a job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Very good.
Yeah. And then the year I won West Australia's Strongest Man, I used to drive out to Elizabeth Quay and actually stand where they're going to hold it and raise my hand up like I was holding a trophy and visualise winning it.
Yeah. So you just stand there and watch all these people walking past Elizabeth Quay.
I'd go when there wasn't too many people, but you know what I mean. I don't really care.
That's awesome. Like I love it
Yeah.
because that's exactly the sort of stuff I do. Like 100% do that.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of another one, but and then like being like an online trainer, I literally visualised that. I thought about that years ago, and then I just didn't know how to make it work. But it was constantly in the back of my mind, and I just imagined what life would be like once I had
the
freedom and time, and how much I'd be able to train, and how grateful I'd be that there's people all around the world who are paying me to do something I love, which is help me get strong. And how I'd feel like it didn't feel like a job. Like it'd feel like I'm literally just messaging my friends, telling them how to get strong. And that's the reality I'm living now.
Yeah.
But it did take a lot of setbacks to eventually get to that point.
Yeah.
But it's funny, the setbacks came when I had doubts. So I do wonder how many of these setbacks can be overridden if you just keep on reinforcing those beliefs.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is an interesting thought. And so I mean that's actually something I'm constantly experimenting with, is how far can you push this law of attraction? And I'm interested to hear the feedback we get on this one, because I'm always quite sort of science based, but this is kind of going into sort of mystical and what a lot of people won't actually accept.
A lot of anyone that, whether you call yourself religious or not, but anyone that has a belief in something being able to present opportunities in your life outside of your control, then you'll be able to relate to it in some way.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we really want to dive deep, what you got to understand.
Right, Max is going balls deep. Bore deep.
Yeah. So if we really want to dive deep into this, there's actually. Well, there's a lot of evidence that's come out, and even there was an Australian experiment they did on some particles a few years back that got an award that's actually proved that time is non-linear. So everything that has happened and is going to happen has already happened. And our brain is actually just a quantum computer that is just taking a snippet of that time, so it appears to us like time is running in one direction. But in reality, everything that's already happened is. So the future can influence the past can influence the future. So, but by visualizing something that's already happened, there's possibly a number of mechanisms that can actually influence a future outcome.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. And what's the so you went over your goals? What's the more so your short-term goals with getting your pro card and strongman? But where do you see like your life as far forward into the future as possible? That'd be interesting. Do you know if you want to talk about?
Yeah. I want to be world's strongest man. I was just saying that.
Awesome.
Why not? And you know what? I'm thinking about what's just me. You don't actually have to be the statically strongest, but you have to hit certain numbers, and it's the overall balance. So I just think it's a fun challenge, and I'm already there on one event. Like my yoke walks are right up there. Once I get my body weight up, I'll definitely run a yoke at a world class pace. I just need a little bit more body weight. I've got the speed, so that's like 1/5 of the way there.
What's some of the things that you enjoy or don't enjoy about? I know we were talking earlier about strongman. Hey, you love the training, but not so much the was it the travelling to a place?
No. Okay, so that was just having a little bit bitch. So I really like to go in the gym and just smash it out and leave in about an hour. I feel like that's a good time for me, because I burn out pretty quickly if I like intense workouts. I don't respond very well to volume. I can just go in there for an hour, smash it, leave. And if I want to train more, I'd probably split it up during the day because I've got the luxury to do that now.
Yeah.
But I think quality over quantity with my training. And I guess I guess I was just talking about how sometimes with strongman training it can take like 5 hours to do an event day.
Yes,
it's like
longer, really.
Because there's multiple people using the equipment.
Or even competition.
Competition's fine because that's just like that's. But yeah, I guess we were just saying it'd be cool to have a strongman gym where everything's set up. You don't have to drag it out and everything's just ready to go.
Yeah.
Where a lot of strongman gyms you have to move things around. Anyway, it was just like a minor. It's not even a big deal.
Yeah, so, again, what are some of the things you love about strongman? You see you enjoy the challenge. What's it that attracts you to World's Strongest Man?
Yeah, well, it's weird. So I actually, I remember reading about it when I was maybe like 10, and I was like, oh, I'm going to do that one day. And then I kind of totally forgot about it, because at the time I couldn't even do one push-up.
Yeah.
Like literally, when I read that, I remember trying to do one push-up, and I just like, fell on my head, just fell on my face, and it took me like a few weeks to get a push-up, and then I remember being pumped that I got one push-up, and then I just stopped training after that, and I was a bit of a nerd sort of growing up, but that was kind of in the back of my mind, and
he still is a nerd.
Yeah.
He doesn't like to admit it.
It was always in the back of my mind, even like when I started doing powerlifting when I was a teenager. But that was just with the goal of getting to strongman. I just thought I wasn't ready, so I needed to do powerlifting first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
But strongman, I like it. It's a lot more fun than a powerlifting competition. Powerlifting competitions, I just get really bored really quickly.
Yeah.
And powerlifting competition almost just seems like an exam. There's just like 3 judges.
Yeah.
There's all these silly rules.
Yeah.
Whereas strongman's just like, just get the weight up, just lift the weight.
Yeah.
And powerlifting is not that sort of man-to-man competition. Like strongman, there's always that back and forth. You know, he wins this event, so you go crazy, and then you force out another 5 reps on this event.
Yeah.
So there's this back and forth which you never get with powerlifting.
Yeah.
Or not to the same extent. So I almost feel like powerlifting's not a true sport in that you can have this, because to me sports are about the battle.
Yeah.
You know, it's about who's better than who, and powerlifting it's a lot more clear cut. And you know there can be situations in powerlifting which get exciting when it's coming down to the last deadlift or whatever, but they're short-lived. Strongman, it's just a lot more.
Events can go for, what's the longest strongman event they can go for if you go for a hold or something like that?
Oh, I mean, generally there was less than 60. I mean, a hold can go longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't often see 2 minutes, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like that mental toughness and just having to be every part of your body has to be strong and resilient as well.
Yeah, mentally too.
Yeah, and I like
endurance, speed.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's holding you accountable to stay athletic, because powerlifting you can end up sort of losing your flexibility, athleticism, and then to me, if you've lost those things, I'm not saying like all powerlifters have. I'm just saying you're not held accountable to maintain those qualities. And to me, if you've lost all endurance, all flexibility, and I've definitely shifted way too far where I've neglected those qualities, and then you try like play a game of basketball and then pull something, or you try go for a run, or do something that normal people should be able to do and injure yourself. I think you've failed at doing your weights. Like weights should complement your life. They shouldn't take away from your quality of life and leave you in pain and beat up and
100%.
all that.
Agreed.
Like no one starts lifting weights to they're like, oh, I want to get less flexible but
immobile.
Immobile. But that can quite often that ends up happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then there's just all different events, the constant challenge, having to be prepared for anything, and having to compete more often. That's one big thing. Not really the level I'm at the moment, but once you're a pro, one thing I really like is the best guys put themselves on the line and compete. Sometimes 20 plus times a year.
Wow.
Some guys have done. Like I think Big Z's done like 300 competitions, strongman competitions,
Very cool.
over 20 years or whatever, and no powerlifter's done that many powerlifting comps.
Yeah, I think
ever.
my average is like 3, maybe 3 to 4 comps a year. Like,
I reckon it's less.
Yeah.
I reckon most people doing like
the top athletes probably do less, like 1 or 2.
yeah, exactly. 1 or 2. There's actually not many powerlifters I know that are doing 4 a year.
Yeah.
And to me, a sport you should have to compete. You know, often.
Yes.
And
100%.
I think if you're a strong man, I think that adds another meaning. You should be strong all the time. Ideally, like I'm not there. I'm not strong year round at the moment. I can't maintain a peak, but that's the eventual goal.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. That's the difference. A powerlifter needs a 12-week peak
Yep.
for a comp, whereas if you're in strongman and you want to make a name for yourself on the pro level, you need to be able to do a competition with a week's notice. You know,
Yep.
drop of the hat,
100%.
and you know and do well.
Yeah.
If you want to be respected. So yeah, I think that's a cool difference. Where it's an actual competitive sport, and it's a lot more. There's a lot more incentive than powerlifting. There's a lot more money in strongman, and if you're good enough, you can actually make a decent living out of it.
100%. Like, what's the top athletes earn a year? Like, actually, just let's say per comp.
Per comp.
Like, Thor, one of his last one at Arnold's.
Okay, Arnold's. It's probably like 100 to 150k.
Yeah, US.
US, yeah, yep. And then there's a lot of smaller ones, like there's a Strongman Champions League. I'm not sure what the Arnold's ones, but there's a lot of smaller ones, and the whole Arnold series. Let's just say that's anywhere from 10 to 50 per comp.
Yep.
Probably in the slightly lower range, but if you do a lot of them, it's going to add up.
Yep.
And then there's the most lucrative ones is actually in Dubai.
Yep.
That Was Dubai one for Ultimate Strongman. The amount of money you even get for showing up is outrageous. So,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of it varies quite a bit.
Wow.
World's Strongest Man isn't actually the most lucrative. Was and Arnold's pay more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe.
Just go and check that video. Give me a second. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, but so what actually? So I think that's a big thing. Is it actually is somewhat of a career, and you can see the world. And to me, like a lot of people just want to go on these holidays to see the world. Whereas one of my biggest mentors once said something really profound. He was like, and this guy's a really good athletics coach, and he gets frustrated when he's got a great young sprinter or whatever, and mainly sprinters, and then they want to go on all these like holidays to Europe and stuff with their friends and get absolutely plastered every night for 2 months, and he's like, no, that's in the middle of this important block of training in the off season. You need to be training, and he's like, you don't deserve holidays until like is it a holiday or like seeing the world. You should get so good at something that you're forced to.
Yeah.
And then you've earned it. So I really like that perspective.
100%. Yeah, I'm a big believer in that too. That you don't take time off till the work's done, and if you've got a goal, don't stop till it's done.
I'm not saying like not going on holidays, but it's just like it needs to be strategic.
Yeah.
You know, like you can have little times to recharge, but going in like if you want to be the best athlete or the best business person you can, or achieve any other goal, is taking a 3-month bender in Europe gonna
it's like it's not going to get you very far.
You know, and we're not saying we haven't done those like kind of things before, but I've been on exchange and whatever and had a good time, but like at this point in my life, I've got to be strategic about what kind of breaks I take from training.
100%.
Yeah.
Cool. That pretty much ties it up. Anything more you want to add in there?
Look, I was just getting warmed up.
No, I'm going to keep going. Totally up to you.
So, I mean, that's a big one with success. What are some ways if someone's mindset isn't there yet? So they're making excuses, or they're actually, probably the biggest one that you have some insight on would be like if someone hasn't got self-belief, how can they achieve that self-belief?
How can they achieve that self-belief? That's a tough one. Most obvious one would come at me would be the talk in the head. Like, what are you saying to yourself? What are you actually saying? Are you saying you don't believe in yourself? Like every day? Are you, like, it sounds really stupid, but just taking your right hand, putting it on your shoulder and giving yourself a pound on the back when you've actually done well with something makes a big difference to going, oh, I probably should have done that better. I probably should have done my whole day better. Should have probably like, done this, done that. Like, don't shit all over yourself. Just focus on what you've done well and look at ways you can do it better and accept that. Like, don't beat yourself up over things. I think that's a big thing that people that don't believe in themselves do is they beat themselves up way too much.
Yeah. Well, beating yourself up basically achieves nothing.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can acknowledge, okay, I could have done this better, but you don't actually need to put a negative back on yourself on that.
Yeah.
You can just say, I'm going to do that better next time. It doesn't actually have to be, oh, I suck because I did that. You can actually just reframe it and be like, I'm just going to do that better next time.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of the things I like to look at is that when you're achieving goals, so you got your goals there, you got your 2 goals. You got to achieve your goals no matter what. If you're visualizing, you're doing the work, and you're achieving and ticking off things along the way. You got one way of going towards it, which is, I'm not doing so well. Could have done better there. Could have done better there. Could have done better there. And you get to your goal, and you're still not happy. Or you go on there going, good job, getting there, getting better, get to your goal. Like, you're going to get to your goal no matter what if you're doing the principles.
Yeah.
But it's a way better journey if you're enjoying it and you're enjoying the self-talk that you have inside your head. That's a big one, even for me. Like, I competed about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did the comp because it was a week prior, and I got a message asking if I wanted to do the comp, and I looked at it, I was like, yeah, why not? I'm going to do it some fun on the weekend. I was like, whole day Saturday, just lifting stuff. Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I looked at my performance overall, and I wasn't happy with it. I was pissed. And then I had to stop myself and realise I didn't actually train specifically for that comp. I was actually training for a powerlifting comp leading up to that, but then had a few niggles, so dropped back to do structural balance for 2 weeks, which was leading up to the strongman comp. So in the final week of the strongman comp, I just played around with the weights and the events to make sure I could do them, so it didn't look like a complete fool. Then went there and just gave it my best. Turned out to be a good outcome for me, but still, and me being me, I was like, I could have done this bit, I should have known how to do this, why didn't I do that, why didn't I get an extra rep there? And I was like, well, hang on, you weren't trained for it, so not beating yourself up when you're not actually, that's like, you look at what you're doing and what you have done, and those things are going to match up. So
you got to put it in perspective.
Yeah.
And that's tied to what I said earlier about how, just got to enjoy the journey, and you got to make a decision to be happy before you've reached a goal.
Yeah.
And actually, you'll get quicker to a goal if you act like it's already happened.
Yeah.
You know?
100%.
I mean, we can go back into the non-linear time thing, but how that ties into it. If you want to, you got to actually pretend that the goal's already happened, and then you'll start acting like someone who's done the actions to actually achieve the goal, and that'll actually bring it closer.
Yep, 100%. What's been your biggest goal, say, in the last year? What's been your biggest achievement, and what did you do to be able to achieve that? Like in training, strength, so much business.
That's when, I mean...
300 kilo dead or strongman?
That was... it's probably over a year ago.
Okay,
So, I mean... I think... I had a few setbacks, so there's nothing... I haven't done anything too crazy strength-wise in the past year or so. A big one was actually getting to 120 kilos for the first time. Last year. That took a bit of work. Should we
talk about what is in ways of trying, failing, winning, and losing? What it actually took for you, and the time you failed at trying to hit 120. When you really wanted it, but you didn't stop.
I think I'll appreciate this story. Cash wants to hear it again. So this is like, I was going to say it anyway. I don't really care. So last year I wanted to hit 120 kilos, maybe like around August last year or something. Somewhere around there, August, September, and I'd been weighing about 119 every day for about a week, and I was like, then one day I was like, all right. I think it was actually the afternoon. I weighed in at 119 again. I'd eaten a lot that day as well. And I was like, you know what? I am going to hit 120 tonight, no matter what it takes to tick off the goal. So I ordered, got a bunch of food, not the most healthy food, like a bit of ice cream, just stuff that was easy to eat, which I don't normally eat, but I was just like, I just need to get this arbitrary out of the way to get it off my mind so I can move on to the next goal. No, so today I'm just going to step on the scales and weigh 120. So normally I'd say you have to weigh that. If you're awake, you have to weigh in the morning. But this was just like whatever it takes, just step on the scales. In just a pair of shorts and weigh 120. So I got to work. I started eating. I think it was like some chicken and rice meal, and then like there was like a bit of sushi, and then a bit of ice cream, and then I think I was drinking some milk as well, like a few litres of milk. Anyway, I started to get quite full, and then I was forcing it in. I was like, and I weighed myself. I'm like, 119.9, and then.
So you actually, in reality, you only needed 100 grams of water to weigh 120.
Yeah.
Get back to it.
Anyway, but and it's 119.1. Anyway, and then I started to force a bit more food, and then I was like, holy shit, I'm about to throw up. And I started walking towards the scale. I'll just tick this off, and wow, and like I never throw up. Like this is like I found like pretty much have never thrown up from overeating before, and had to be done. Like let's just tick it off. Let's get this goal done. So walking along towards the scales, and I'm walking really slowly because I'm feeling so ill. I know if I move too far, if I take too much of a big step, I'm just going to stretch my stomach and it's just going to all come back up. But I'm just going to weigh myself and then just lie down and just try and absorb this food. Anyway, so I walk to the scale, and then I'm getting near the bathroom, and I'm like, oh shit, I can't make it. And I'm like, no, and I start walking towards the scales a little more. I'm like, no, I can't make it. So I had to pull the plug and threw up, and then I was like 119.2 or something. anyway, pretty gross story. Anyway, but I didn't reach 120, and it actually took another few months actually.
Yeah.
But then it was a lot easier the second time around.
But you didn't give up. That's the whole thing about winging.
Anyway, I'm not recommending that. That was just like a personal challenge, and I just needed to hit that number to mentally tick that one off. So please don't force feed to the point of throwing up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Alright, that's an hour, so I'll leave it there.
Alright,
good?
Sweet.
Happy?
Yeah, that's good.
Good job.
What's up, bro?
Oh.